Okay, so we're going to do a couple things. We're going to start here at Tony George Productions, and we're going to look at the website. And the first thing that I always look at for a website is what's called cognitive dissonance. And the dissonance is created when a person is not looking at the site and reading the content. They're thinking, how does the site work? So right away we have confusion with the links. We have a yellow link here, and then we have red links here, and then we have red subhead here, we have a red logo here, and we have red text here. So I always like to use this color right here for links because it's really what people expect, with an underline, and that way they don't really have to think about the links. So this is welcome to Tony George Productions, but I'm already at Tony George Productions, so I don't know. This is confusing to me. Why would I click on this? And I don't like to click on something unless I know what's going to happen when I click on it. It says click here to subscribe to TGP News. Also, I would put spaces in between here because this is another area of cognitive dissonance. If you're a grammar freak like I am, this kind of thing is annoying to a grammar freak. My wife is a grammar freak too. We have a lot of arguments about correct grammar. So this click here to subscribe, this is how you get new people. This really should be the most prominent thing on the website, and people may not associate TGP with Tony George Productions. So we have two links, and I at first thought these were both the same link. The other thing is that we have a problem here is we're telling me I'm at the home page, but you're using the yellowish color, but the yellowish color is used as a link here, so that's kind of confusing. So another issue that we have, this is cut off. Singing is a spiritual prac is cut off, and I'm seeing no problems with these links before, but I have had times where these links don't show up at all, so that's kind of a thing. And then this down here is kind of a real confusing mess down here. I'm not sure what these things mean. So I know Tony, so I know singing is a spiritual practice, Tony George music. I don't know what this picture is. It's very important that when you have a link, the link tells the person where they're going to go. Here's your contact. It's kind of hidden among these offerings, and it really should be separate. Okay, so one of the other problems, this is a problem up here in terms of this being over to the left. That's another area of cognitive dissonance. Grammatically, we have, when you have a sentence, quotation marks mean that you are quoting something that somebody said. So this is not the right mark up here. Also, we have initial caps. When you don't have a complete sentence, you use initial caps, so S, J, E, S. But then here we are not using initial caps, so that's we need initial caps here and initial caps here. And this should be centered underneath. And we definitely need to get these links a more intuitive color. The type, it's hard to read. A lot of people like me don't process type that's in color, or it's more difficult to process type. So we got a lot of things going on that may distract a person from actually hearing and reading the messages. The other thing about the navigation here, well, I was saying that this home is telling me that I'm at the home page. The link should not be active when you roll over the home because I'm already on the home page. And so this looks like a link, and then this is a link, and this is a link, so it's very confusing. Also, you have two typefaces here within this. So we have this beautiful picture of Tony. This is really a gorgeous picture. I'd love to see a header made with Tony actually looking at me and engaging me in the site, rather than me kind of voyeuristically looking. As gorgeous as this picture is, it doesn't engage me. So I'm not feeling as much connection as I could. The other thing is the title of this page is Home, and it really should say Tony George Productions Home. That's a function of the language that it's written in. It's written in ASPX, which to me is not a horrible problem, but it's not a good language. If you look here, you'll see that this is what most sites are written in, PHP. This is the language of blogs, and it's really the language that Google loves the most. So it's really the best language to have your site in. And the other thing I'm going to show you, which is kind of a scary thing, this is a Google search for Tony George. We have lots of stuff that come up on the first page, and most people will not go any further than this. By putting some pictures that have a tag with Tony George, Tony could come up in the images. We have Tony George Online Real Estate. We have lots of stuff. So nowhere on the first page are we seeing Tony George. And what that means is that Google is not seeing Tony George on the website. And really, when you have the name Tony George in a logo, you have to have words attached to this. You have to have, it has to be done in the coding so that that Google will see this as Tony George Productions. And also, when somebody who is visually impaired, lots of people who are visually impaired read the web. So if this was named properly, they would be able to read this as Tony George Productions. They're probably going to see this as just a graphic, something JPEG, probably tgp.jpg. And the last thing in terms of the structure of this is that this navigation, this is not an intuitive place for people to find navigation. They're used to looking at blogs that have it on the right hand side, websites that have it on the top, or websites that have it on the left. Right now it's most intuitive for people to have buttons that are very obviously identifiable as links instead of using a system like this. And if you did use a system like this, it really needs to be blue with a blue underline. So we're going to go back to search engine problems, and what I did was I went to Google's AdWords, to my account, and I put in Tony George Productions, and this shows you the words that show up on the website for Tony George Productions. And notice that the word Tony George does not come up anywhere. We need to have Tony George as keywords, because when people meet you, they very often may have heard of you or met you at a party, or somebody mentioned, Tony George, singing is a spiritual practice. Singing is a spiritual practice needs to be in the text, in the headlines, in the page names. It needs to be, it should be coming up here. So this is kind of interesting, though. We have music lessons coming up as a link, and I'm showing very low competition, surprisingly, for new music lessons. So 110,000 people search on a global monthly basis. Local monthly, 60,000 people are searching for music lessons. This is quite a bit of people, and it's really consistent. This is search trends here. So people are searching on a regular basis for music lessons. They would probably search for music lessons New York City, music lessons gospel. These are opportunities, and because of the low competition, the higher this green area is, means the worse the competition is for the keywords. But these key phrases, lesson to music, music lessons in, these are the words that Google is seeing. These are the only words that Google is seeing on Tony George Productions here. So this is really lost opportunity, and I think it's mostly just the way the language of the site ASP is done, or ASPX, that the site is written in, and you can tell that up here. This is the language of the site. And the other thing is that ASP names Google, the first thing Google reads is this right here. And so what Google is reading is Tony George Productions default. And this is not what we want it to read. We want to have these words be meaningful. And this is the problem with ASPX, that we don't have as much control over that. So again, here our navigation, this is very confusing. Our navigation is not identifiable. Here we have links that are yellow again, but are our major navigation is an issue. And also the repetition of Tony George Productions. This is giving people stuff to think about that they don't need to think about. I would rather see just clean type on this and maybe somebody singing. A picture of somebody singing helps people see themselves in the site, so I think that might be a better thing to do. And then about Tony George. This picture is for some reason kind of squunchy looking, and your text is flush left on this page, but it's and flush left here, but on this page, oh, it is flush left. I thought, for some reason, I thought it was centered. And I'm just going to quickly go to community here. This page I found is a problem because people who don't know Tony George Productions, especially when you're going out in the world now, when they click on community, that's usually where they expect to find a blog or a forum. And so this is another area of cognitive dissonance. For me as a stranger just learning about Tony George, and really that's how you have to think, that somebody coming to the site doesn't know you, doesn't know anything about you. You know, check us out, Tony, New York Center, Sacred Center, New York Gospel Choir. I don't know why this is on this site. I know Tony George, so I know that he is the choir director. But if I were a stranger coming to the site, I would go, okay, community. Why is Sacred Center Gospel Choir here? There's no explanation. So I don't know whether Tony is a member of the choir or whether he's the leader of the choir. And that's really important. So the value of a community link is not being met here. So I'm going to say something that when I was on the home page, I saw this, click here to subscribe, and I saw this as the only link for subscription, but here I see that there is a subscribe button. So mentally, and then we have an extra vertical line here which shouldn't be there. So mentally, my mind did not process this subscription up here, and really it needs to be dominant, and my mind didn't really process the contact here. Now intuitively people will look up here for contact when they're ready to reach you, so I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to tell you right now that people absolutely hate filling out a form, especially if the message is required, the email is required. So you're asking me to contact you to fill in 4 different things. I have no patience, and most people don't have any patience. But here's your email right here, and you can just make this a link, you know, and people can just click on this and it'll automatically open up their email. And also, to make a financial contribution, please click the following. We generally, this is every word that can be edited should be edited. So if you just put donate, you know, donate to Tony George Productions, that can just be a link, but it should be up here somewhere. It should be one of the links here. This is really not the appropriate place to do it. Also, the use of these little indicators are used at the end of something to indicate that there is more information further down and to look for it. So this is not the appropriate use of these marks either. This is an asterisk, and an asterisk is used at the end of something to indicate more information comes later. And it's also a little more cognitive dissonance in that it looks almost identical to these little dots, which indicate a required field. So I would get rid of this form, you know, or at least make this a link so people who don't have any patience can send you an email. People would much rather just use an email, because then they know they sent you an email, because they can look in their sent file. So I think the structure of the site really, by converting the site to a PHP site, this would solve all of these problems. So I'm going to really maybe just quickly go through these. I would singing is a spiritual practice. Now we have another navigation system that's dropping down, and so this is called sub-navigation or child pages, and the child pages have yet a third type of navigational device. We had underlined orange text. We have not underlined red text. So this is really, and then we have red vertical lines here. So this is really, really a lot of cognitive dissonance areas. In terms of usability, these are actually called user issues, or graphical user interface issues, but they are usability issues. They are issues that make the site harder to use than it needs to be. And the harder a site is to use, the less people can really put their effort into thinking about what's on the site. This is a nice picture, and I think it's tiny, and I can't click on it to make it bigger, though I'd like to. I can't click on this, so I don't know what she's doing. And this looks like there's a cross behind her and light shining from her, so I'm not sure what this picture means. And this text is so complicated here. Usually it's not advisable to use columns on a website unless you're using a call out or something like that. So the pictures that we do have are not meaningful because I can't connect to these people. I can't see their faces, and I can't connect to them. So, and we have a lot of links here. I think that singing as a spiritual practice is going to need to be its own special thing. And we also we don't have task-oriented links here. If I wanted to hire Tony as a personal coach, I think this is a big potential for income. So having coaching, and Mary Morrissey, I don't know if I got her name right. No, I don't. So I was going to say to look at her site. She has a really nice way of doing her site, that she has broken it down very simply into tasks with very large buttons that make it very clear where you're going. So we want to clean up this navigation. We want to have more interactive pictures. We want to have clarity in terms of subpages. I think drop-downs would be a much more effective subpage system than this is. Engaging pictures. I'm just going to click quickly on these. Creative prosperity. Also, this is an incorrect use of a copyright symbol. Copyright symbol is used, and it's used all over the place here. So CP, you wouldn't copyright CP. Creative Prosperity Program. This is very confusing. A copyright is used for a body of text, so this information would be copywritten, and you would have a copyright at the bottom like you do, which we want to change that to the correct date. But we have a picture that looks like it's not coming up here. And so the correct mark here is a TM, which indicates a trademark has been applied for. Once the trademark has been accepted, it turns into a R in a circle, which is a register mark. So we've got incorrect symbol use here, another issue of cognitive dissonance. Now here on Master Key to Riches, this is a great thing, and here's a picture of Tony that's really engaging, and it's soft and fuzzy. The resolution's too low on it, and I think part of the problem is that it's part of a graphic here. So all of the text, every word on this flyer should be searchable, but because it's a graphic, Google only sees the name of the graphic. So there's all these opportunities, Tony George Productions, and also running on George Productions. We want to separate that. These different backgrounds and things, these can be consecutively used, scanning down a page if you're using a traditional sales page. But this is totally illegible to me. I can't read a word here. The sentence structure here is illegible. This is almost illegible. It's barely readable. But the biggest loss here is in the opportunity for keywords. So we have too many graphics, too many colors. We've got a gray background, a yellow background in a box, a tan background. blue text, red text, brown text. So this whole graphic here is really not good, and I might not have even scrolled down to look at this testimonial. I think testimonials are really powerful, and there should be lots of them on there, and I would love to see them done as videos or with pictures along with them. So we got kind of problems on pretty much every single page here that we need to straighten out. So I think that's enough. I hope I haven't been too harsh. I tend to really just say what comes to my mind, which is the best kind of user tester, because you want to know what people are thinking when they're on your website. It's more important than what they're doing. So we're going to stop.